I'd like to now welcome a few people as well here today. I'd like to welcome, of course, Mrs. Rinehart, our very special guest, and our patron, whom we're very, very proud of. Aspen Medical, our sponsor for today, including Glenn Keys, the Aspen owner and managing director, and Annette Altrim, and Aspen Medical guests. Senator Barnaby Joyce, Shadow Minister for... Now, Senator Joyce is the Shadow Minister for Region Development, Local Government and Water, Leader of the Nationals in the Senate, and the LNP Senator for Queensland. Of course, Lady Flo Bjelke-Petersen, her son John, and family members as well. The Honourable Senator Ian MacDonald, Shadow Parliamentary Secretary for Northern and Remote Australia, and Shadow Parliamentary Secretary for the Defence Force and Defence Support, and Mrs. MacDonald. Karen Andrews, Federal Member for McPherson, which is on the Gold Coast, and somebody I dearly love and know very well, and also Councillor Pam Parker, the Mayor of Logan City, someone also that I know and who is very dynamic. Councillor Peter Matic, Councillor for Toowong, Councillor Matthew Burke, Councillor for Mount Omni, and last but not least, our guests. Now, a little bit about SBAA, or Small Business Association of Australia. At every business breakfast and or lunch, I always talk about what we as an association are doing for small business owners. Today, I wish to outline our two core objectives. Small Business Association of Australia is a young and dynamic business organisation that is a leader, a forum for open debate, and the sharing of ideas, including new ways of doing business and thinking outside the square. Historically, being in small business has always been tough, but today, due to the economic climate, a myriad of compliance and regulation issues, high startup costs, more demanding and sometimes aggressive consumers, including the shifts in how we do business, small business owners and those intending to go into small business need to take a more sophisticated approach. We do not necessarily teach small business owners how to conduct their business, because at the end of the day, their success will depend largely upon their entrepreneurial skills and similar factors. However, we do offer small business owners, including micro business owners, tangible support because we understand small business and we understand its culture, and I repeat, its culture. Our two main objectives are to reduce small business failure and to provide a pathway of support to business owners who find the going tough, something that is not available at the moment through other organisations. We believe in an holistic approach which combines health and well-being, that is physical and mental, with business acumen. We provide small business owners with a roadmap of their journey and identify what and where the pitfalls are. Ladies and gentlemen, traditionally the thinking has been for every startup business there is another one or two about to start up, so everything will be all right. This thinking is wrong, with this view supported by respected small business researchers. Today we have the highest level of small business failures and bankruptcies since the 1990s, and for the first time the startup rates have declined. It is early days, but we hope that this is not a continuing trend, as it will have a severe effect on the Australian economy. So why should we be concerned, and why should we support small business? Whilst we acknowledge that the vital financial contribution of the mining industry has kept Australia largely out of recession for many years, small business is the base engine of the economy. That applies to developed and undeveloped countries, plus governments in the Western countries. The emerging economies also recognise this. Small business is a wealth creator. Governments do not create wealth, but individual small business owners do. Small business is the largest single employer. This is recognised by governments in our Western societies and now in the emerging economies. and a weak small business sector is a weak economy. This means less taxes, less hiring of employees, and personal wealth reduction. It is often small business entrepreneurs who produce the inventions and the new ideas. And importantly, small business is central to the heart of our communities all across Australia. Important 2013 events the Small Business Association of Australia is introducing, which we believe are the world's first, will include a major event that we will elevate the importance of small business and a major program that will reduce small business failures in a very large number. So, ladies and gentlemen, we invite you as individuals, corporations, governments and other business organisations who share our vision to join with us to create a more productive and wealthy Australia through building stronger small businesses. And remember, every large business started as a small business. Thank you very much. I would now like to invite Glenn Keys, the owner and managing director of Aspen Medical, our sponsor for today's important business lunch and historical book launch, to say a few words. Would you please welcome Glenn Keys.
Good afternoon, everybody, and it's an honour to be able to be with you today to be at the launch of Mrs. Rinehart's book. Aspen Medical is a complete healthcare service provider, so we don't provide just the people or the equipment, we provide the complete solution. So it's everything from the people, the buildings, the equipment, everything that sees a healthcare outcome. And as I look at the projects that Mrs. Rinehart's been involved in, it's interesting to see the analogies between someone who decides that everything needs to be done to deliver a project and will sort out all of those things to make it happen. It's an exciting opportunity for us because we provide the healthcare at Roy Hill, at the construction site, at the railway and at the port. And we've just started providing the healthcare at Mulga Downs for exploration. Aspen, like the book will talk about, has found a lot of its future working in Northern Australia. We provide healthcare to Indigenous populations across the Northern Territory. We provide healthcare in Queensland in areas as critical as Caboolture Emergency Department and for our Defence Forces Australia-wide. We're excited for the opportunity to be here. I think we're all looking forward to the vision presented by Mrs. Rinehart in this book at a time when Australia is dramatically lacking vision and guidance on where we should be. It's nice to know that someone can form an opinion, clearly state it, and say it so that we can all understand it at a time when there is so much obfuscation and flip-flopping on what opinion should be. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a great opportunity. I think we're all looking forward to this. I'm reminded of Roosevelt, who said when he gave a speech, "Be clear, be succinct, be seated." So I think it's my time to sit down. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
We're about to begin the most exciting part of the event. Oh, that's fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to begin what I think is the most important and most exciting part of the event. And I now wish to call on Senator Joyce to come to the stage, please.
Well, thank you very much, and what a beautiful crowd we've got here today. It's obvious that when you get a person of substance releasing something, that you're going to fill the room up. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Gina is a good mate of mine. I'll talk the way I am from St George, and I always get a great sense of pride when people at times decide to denigrate the fact that I have a friendship with a person I think is an incredibly successful Australian. If you want strength, then you have it in Gina Rinehart. if you want success, then you can't get more successful than, let's call it for what it is, and then at times the richest lady in the world. I mean, as an Australian, I like that. I like that. I mean, what does this nation want? Do we just want every person who's successful to come from somewhere else? I like the fact that we have successful, and dare I say, women. In fact, we have the most successful woman in the world in the room today. That is a great outcome. Now, ladies and gentlemen, these things don't happen by accident. The global business is a tough game. If you're a fool, you will not make it. You will not get there. The only way you get there is if you have a plan, if you have a team, if you have persistence, if you have drive, if you have all those things that make up the character of a person who can succeed, not only in the Australian market, but in the Indian markets, in the Chinese markets, in the European markets. And when we get one of those, isn't it funny how you see the rats and the mice coming out to tear the show down because they don't like it? Well, today we get a chance to see the vision of a person of how we take this nation ahead. Let us also acknowledge that this is a lady who, if she wanted to, with her family, she could have left like so many others do. They could have gone somewhere else. But she stuck around because she loves our country. She loves our nation. She loves where Australia is going, and I'm very, very motivated to make sure that we can bring that about. And it would make sense that a person such as Gina Rinehart and her family would have the capacity to know the direction forward, because the stock they come from is one that had vision. It is one of the greatest frustrations of this nation, that at a time where Sir Joe Bjelke-Petersen, and it's a great honour to have today Lady Flo Bjelke-Petersen in the room with us today, but when Sir Joe Bjelke-Petersen and Lang Hancock said that we will connect the coal of Queensland to the iron ore of Western Australia and create the biggest steel industry in the world, everybody ran them down. Everybody ran them down. So today we have nothing. We don't have that steel industry. Today we export the coal, we export the iron ore. And how did that stop? Well, bureaucrats, basically. Bureaucrats standing in between them, otherwise known as the Northern Territory. So I'm happy to, and with my good colleagues, it's great to be here with Ian McDonald and his wife, and with Karen Andrews. The reason we come here is because we like people who are goers. We like people who stand up against sometimes the political correctness, like Ian Plimer. It's great to also see other people, like great team people like Tabra Trober, because he's been a vital cog of this show all the way through. But, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to be part and parcel of the launching of this book for my good friend, and for her to discuss with us about the ideas that got her to where she is, and the ideas that she has for our nation to take our nation the next step forward. And if we work together, ladies and gentlemen, we're all going to get there, and it's going to be a great nation, a powerful nation, and a beacon of light and prosperity and justice for the people in our region. All the best, God bless, and we welcome to the stage Gina Rinehart.
It's great to be with you today and to see so many friends here as well. Thank you everyone for joining us for this, my very first book launch in Brisbane. Barnaby, thank you for that warm welcome. and Anne too. It was just wonderful, thank you. I have launched a few other books before, including books by great Australians, Lang Hancock and Ron Manners. The launch of Dad's book, Wake Up Australia, was a launch with a difference. We chartered a 747 Qantas jet 33 years ago to go around Australia. Indeed, there are people in this audience who were on this trip with me. I've already seen my friend John McRobert, Lady Flo, of course, was on the trip, which was wonderful. And I'm especially delighted to say that Lady Flo, Bjelke Petersen, who co-hosted that flight for our previous book launch, has come all the way from Kingaroy to be with us today. May I ask you all to stand, except for Lady Flo, and join with me in giving a really very, very warm welcome to dear Lady Flo. And please keep standing. We also have with us her son John and her daughter Meg and other family members. Please give them all a wonderful welcome. Thank you. As Sir Joe, Lady Flo and our passengers crossed the border between the Northern Territory and West Australia on Dad's 70th birthday, after an aerial tour of our great northern mines and resources, my father's book, Wake Up Australia, was launched. We had great people on that flight who had paid to be part of this unique trip and attend the book launch. The enthusiasm for development of our north was felt by nearly all. The exceptions were some left-wing media, who I heard complained that even when they went to the bathrooms, they could not escape. You see, the sound system worked well there too. I would love you all to be with me on an aerial tour of our north. A great way to launch a book on Northern Australia. But because this is not possible today, please share with me via this old footage, and let's see if we can do this flight together another time. I have great hopes that some member of this audience is going to arrange this. We had mainly business people with us last time.
Australia's vast interior, an empty brooding land.
And as John Singleton so aptly said, few of them knew much about our north. Few had even visited. You know, 33 years later, not much has changed. The north, despite its vast resources, still only contains some 5% of our population. But what great people these 5% are. They're my cup of tea, and certainly were my father's. He was one of them. Dad was so enthusiastic for his birthday flight, or the Wake Up Australia flight as it became known. Even when sadly he became ill and was not able to leave hospital to enjoy it, he insisted the flight went ahead without him. So it did. In honour of great Queenslanders and our wonderful co-hosts for the flight, please enjoy with me some footage of Sir Joe on the Wake Up Australia flight.
Australia's vast interior, an empty brooding land. To many Australians, it is indeed a breathtaking and awe-inspiring sight. For the tourist, that is. But to men like Lang Hancock and Queensland Premier Joe Bjelke Petersen, it means untapped wealth, a land of enormous mineral resources just waiting for Australians to wake up.
Well, they are asleep to their opportunities, to the great potential that we have, to our responsibilities not only towards our own nation but towards other nations with the resources that we have and the potential of food supplies, whatnot.
Even as the Hancock birthday flight passed over the developed mining areas, Premier Bjelke Petersen and American nuclear expert Professor Peter Beckman continued to impress on passengers the desperate need for Australia to be opened up.
Having lived in the north, both Dad and I wanted to see the benefits of hospitals, weatherproof roads, good education facilities, communication and other facilities most of us in cities don't think much about, brought to the people of the north through investment and businesses and development of projects. In fact, something like our sponsor of today's lunch has been mentioning that he's doing up north, bringing health into the north because of the mining industry. And boy, do we need to see this happening today. as our federal government keeps increasing our nation's debt, and sadly our state governments adding to this burden, with far, far too little thought as to how we first create wealth and revenue, so there is something available to spend. My next experience of book launching also took place in the north, or should I say far north. I was scheduled to launch my friend Ron Manner's book in West Australia, but my trip to South Korea took longer than planned, a trip where I was seeking investment for our north, and I had the awful task of letting my friend know that I could not be there in person for his special launch. "Don't worry," said the ever-resourceful Ron. "Get your book's launch speech filmed and sent down to me in time for the launch." So at a lull in negotiations on a Saturday afternoon, in came a South Korean film crew. But there was a little hitch, as they truly did not speak a word of English, and I do not speak a word of Korean. It was an interesting session, with much hand-waving and gestures, but finally something was handed over that I could express mail to Ron. Ron did receive the film on the day of the launch and used it. Today I have borrowed off this experience, and we have several other book launches happening with a film speech. I think there's 8 going on today in Perth, the Pilbara, and elsewhere in our north. Before these book launches, I had spent much of my earlier life in the Pilbara in northwest Australia on our stations. A few weeks ago, I was up there with my daughter Gina, and we would like to share some recent, more private photos with you. These aren't in the book. The first ones were taken at one of my earliest homes. In fact, that's been mentioned today already. Our Mulgadan station, a station that stretches some approximately 100 miles, most of which are alongside the Hancock Ranges. So we have to get round the station in an aircraft. To check the cattle, muster the cattle, and check the windmills are working, because in the heat up there for most months of the year, the sheep and cattle must have daily water. Within a long walk from our homestead is this beautiful, non-permanent lake system. Some years after exceptional cyclones, the water continues all year around. The bird life is absolutely magnificent. It was our favourite place on the station for family picnics and to take special visitors. I'm pretty sure we took your family there too. Meg, did we? Yes? Yep. Okay, so you remember this. That's great. So I think that I'm maybe biased, but I think it is beautiful. And you can see today's station children love it like I did. The station is a working property, and the LGH helicopter, as you can see in the photo, is a workhorse, used daily for both station and project requirements. For those of you who may not have toured by helicopter, a vast property in our north, like I do with our station manager, to see the vastness of the property, the livestock and wild animals too, the scenery, the flocks of birds, may I recommend you all put this on your bucket lists. I think you will also end up treasuring the experience and feel it makes you just a bit more in love with our country, and its north in particular. Now, the Pilbara is well known for its iron ore, but not so well known for the richness of its soil. Just add water, as my father used to say, and anything will grow there. Look what is on our station. Yes, in the Pilbara we also grow mangoes. You can see mangoes over there. Just like you do in Queensland, and more our Pilbara mulberries, for instance, which I think are world's best. We are fortunate to have a lady on our property who just happens to bake pies, even better than Kentucky. Straight from mulberry tree to pie, and my daughter and I know just how good that is. I mention food because I see this as going to be a great need for the world, especially for our more populous friends, or more increasingly populous neighbours to our north. We need to make better use of our northern land by making water more available for it. We need to see, for instance, pipelines or channels carrying surplus water from the Kimberleys in West Australia put to use that is otherwise being wasted. but this takes money and requires policies to make investment welcome. The investment in our mining industry has been very positive for Australia, but we need to be doing more if we want, as I do, more revenue for our defence, which I believe is under-resourced, our police, our elderly, our hospitals, our roads, infrastructure, communication, to be able to repay our debts and enable sustainable job opportunities for existing and future generations. This brings up again the important point that we need to earn revenue before we can spend it. We need to focus more on the earning, not just the spending. And for this, we need to have a good environment to make investment welcome. We brought along some recent photos of my daughter and me in the Pilbara to show that we don't just preach investment in the Pilbara. We do invest. Here we are at Hope Downs 4, of course named after my mother, our most recent mine under construction, our third, not second mine with Rio Tinto Iron Ore, standing next to more than 800 million of investment to date since July 2005, shared with Rio Tinto Iron Ore. Our 100% Australian company was the one who brought Hope 4 to JORC and pre-feasibility study status, pre-Rio Tinto Iron Ore's involvement, and through all the multitudes of approvals to get that far. So we had already determined the resource and contributed to its de-risking. This mine, after another approximately 800 million investment, it's still under construction, will be ready to go second quarter next year, provided much needed revenue for Australia, assuming the cyclones and strikes don't interrupt our planning. And next to this mine, the Lang Hancock rail spur, connecting the mine to other Hope Downs properties and the RTIO infrastructure. Our family have been very fortunate to know Sir Joe Bjelke-Petersen and his family. Sir Joe was very devoted to his Queensland. On that wake-up flight we shared 33 years ago, the plane left New South Wales and crossed into Queensland. Do you know what your very pro-Queensland Premier then said as he welcomed the Wake Up Australia flight into Queensland and over the PA system? See, even the air is better now. It is invigorating. What a loyal Queenslander and friend we were privileged to have. Sir Joe certainly made us feel welcome in Queensland. And not just us, of course. He wanted investment in his state. He wanted the heads of companies to put their headquarters here. He made many investors welcome. He terminated death duties, and he worked very hard in the interests of Queensland, and Queensland flourished. He left not only Queensland debt-free, but he left a legacy for Queensland. We have much to learn from this great leader. We have so much to thank him for. If I was asked, do you think Sir Joe would support ANDEV? I would be quick to respond, absolutely. But I think Sir Joe would go one better. He would want ANDEV policies of less tax and less regulation, pro-investment and development and sustainable jobs to benefit all of Queensland. Our company has also invested significantly in Queensland in recent years. We expanded our holding in Kevin's Corner, the area we initially acquired after Sir Joe urged us to invest in Queensland. But as this was not of a sufficient size to make possible the vast infrastructure required, Tad and I later acquired Tad's Corner and Paul's Corner. Tad is with us today. Can I embarrass you, Tad, please? Do you mind standing? Yes. In the mid-90s, our company was still in a bit of difficulty and we didn't have much in the way of money. And so this opportunity in Queensland came up, and Tad was asked, get on a plane, let's get it. And he got on a plane, he got it. But the bit that I didn't properly understand at the time is out came Tad's credit card. Not the company one, he wasn't even given all that. Out came Tad's credit card to acquire this amazing asset and to pay back, and to get the available records in relation to Tad's Corner. He was paid back, but I meant over $20,000 in the mid-90s was a bit of money, and Tad did that without question. Thank you, Tad. And for a lot more than that. Yes. Hippel, or Hancock Prospecting Proprietary Limited, we call it Hippel, then opened an office in Brisbane, CBD, and spent money on all these areas, bringing the majority to bankable feasibility study status and advancing Tad's Corner further. At Tad's Corner, the largest of these, we invested to build the first large-scale mine test pit in the Galilee Basin, and we were the first to export the coal from the Galilee. Our 100% Australian company was truly the first company to open the Galilee. After the coal had left Australian waters, we brought in Indian partners who need the coal, as unfortunately the expense of our more advanced West Australian project was too large for our company to be able to carry all these gigantic projects, and we didn't wish to delay the Galilee project's development. We are proud to have been the very first company to open the Galilee and ship the first Galilee coal overseas, and to request the rail route and port site, essential for the project, and are enthusiastically staying in both the Tad's Corner and future Paul's Corner major projects, in addition to our joint venture interest in 5 coal exploration joint ventures in Queensland. I hope some of our partners might be here today, and our own 5 100% owned tenements on which we are also actively investing and working. Some of these tenements will ultimately have their coal utilising the infrastructure route and port site at Abbott Point we achieved, and upon which we finalised the bankable feasibility study prior to welcoming our partners into these projects. I was wondering if Lady Flo might like to say something about the hosting the flight that I've mentioned, or if she would like to say something about the book that she has been lost and she hasn't yet seen. Well, she's got her daughter's one in front of her, but the one that I brought in a box, I don't know where it is for her and her son. Di, please get that box. But I was wondering if our wonderful co-host might like to say a few words.
Thank you, Gina. Well, it's lovely to be here with you today. I drove down from Kingaroy this morning, thanks courtesy to John, and I'm going back again after it finishes. But that's not too bad for a 92-year-old, I'd say. But I knew what a wonderful function this would be for the launch of this lovely book of Gina's, and for everybody to have a chance to have a look at it and see for themselves some of this tremendous development that's taken place in Australia thanks to Gina and her family company. It's just been a wonderful thing for Western Australia, for Queensland, and the wonderful development as a whole. And so it's been lovely to be able to come and share with you and so many friends, and my daughter who doesn't come I don't see her too often, and my grandson. So it's been lovely to be here with John and all the others, and all of you. It's so nice to have such a lovely function, and to have Gina herself giving us this commentary. So thank you, Gina, and thank you, everyone. God bless you all.
so much, let he flow. It also gives me great pleasure on the anniversary of my father's initial discovery flight in the Pilbara to be able to confirm Anne's announcement. Actually, Anne, I'm not sure that you've announced it. I'll have to. That's no problem. Okay, I'm saying confirm, but our company will be donating an annual prize to the Small Business Association. For the Small Business Association to choose a winner each year of the person who has done the most in Australia to promote and or protect small business in Australia. So I'm so delighted to be leaving this in Anne's very capable hands, to find more people willing to stand up and protect small business, which is so critical, so important to our country. So each year on the anniversary of this discovery flight, SBAA will announce the winner. To me, small business and the mining and related industries and other primary industries are the backbone of our great country and critical to our country's future. We need to create better policies for small businesses to prosper, reinvest and grow in Australia, and consequently make the contribution and create the opportunities Australia needs. A portion of this prize money for this annual award is to be used by the winner for further promotion and protection of small business, and the rest as they or the Small Business Association would wish. Hopefully also towards the interests of small business. The Small Business Association will of course announce the details. November the 22nd, today, is a great day in Australia's history, as 60 years ago today, my father made his initial discovery flight in his tiny, frail Oster in the Pilbara of West Australia, which after much effort and perseverance created revenue for decades and became so important to this country. If I may take this moment to also thank the SBAA for hosting this wonderful luncheon and gathering so many wonderful people to attend, and to personally thank Anne Nolder for all these arrangements for our first book launch. Many, many thanks, Anne. And I'd like to add, Anne, you are terrific. Concerned friends and I started Australians for Northern Development and Economic Vision, or ANDEV, back in 2010. Our members are very concerned about many issues pressing upon Australians, including the very important one of losing our cost competitiveness, an issue too few Australians are recognising the consequences of. Our members are all well aware of then President Hoover's saying, quote, "Blessed are the young, for they shall inherit the national debt," and the relevance this has to Australia today. We don't want to see, I'm talking on behalf of ANDEV, to see Australia continue on a course with too many heads buried in the sand, critical investors discouraged by bad policies, even hated, too few understanding the problems while Australia moves towards being another Greece or Spain or Portugal. This book that we've just launched contains more ANDEV articles and speeches and then some, which now today, together with some of our ANDEV executives who've travelled to Brisbane, all passionate volunteers. Do you mind if I ask you to stand as we call your name? Emance, Julian, Jan, Tad, Ian, and with other, please stand, and with other terrific ANDEV members, some of whom are also in this audience. Would you like to join me on the stage for the actual launch? Yes? Yeah. They all give their time voluntarily, which is wonderful. Okay. Good. Nice to see you. Okay, good. So, surrounded by these wonderful and of execs, there's another 6 of us who are scattered around today launching books. We would like very much to officially launch Northern Australia and Then Some. We do all hope you enjoy this little book and hope too that you spread it widely. Many thanks again for being with us today. All best wishes. Thank you. Fantastic. That was just perfect. I know you don't want to do all that.
Yes, I do. Never miss a chance.
Of course, I forgot the question. Sorry. You can do that on your own. I was about to
Now you can see why Small Business Association of Australia has the best patron in Australia. Now, Mrs. Rinehart has a couple. She can answer a couple of questions. We can only have 1 or 2 questions. So, would you like to put your hand up if you'd like to ask a question of Mrs. Rinehart? But just keep it brief, please.
I thought I was happily deserting the stage, but there's a question.
Sure. Serena Russo is my name. I'm a Queenslander, and I too love Queensland. In fact, Sir Joe and Lady Flo are very special friends of mine, and it was Flo who was my first guess to how to get that job. So thank you, Flo. But back to you, Gina. Gina, you're an extraordinary woman, a woman who absolutely, from a woman's point of view, is inspired by your journey. You've had a lot of adversity, and yet today you can stand up and feel tall. Can I personally congratulate you? But what really inspired you to write this book, and what is truly your message today?
As far as the message is concerned, you'll only get that from the book. I can't change what's in it. As far as the inspiration, that's very, very simple. It's the good people of Australia. I wanted to write this book for the many, many good Australians that are all throughout this country.
Has anyone else got another question? Another question? Oh, that might be you.
There's one just there. It's just one.
Gina, it's John McRobert, and the question you can pick up in a flash. In a word, what do you think of the Australian tax system?
One word, discouraging. Needs improvement, if I'm allowed 2 more. Yes.
Okay, one final question.
And that was an ANDIF member, so perhaps it should be allowed for another person.
Gina, it's Tony Mack from Great Southern Cross. Good to see you in face. Northern Australia, which has the opportunities, should be shared with our Indigenous people. In your book, do you lay out pathway to achieve this? And if you don't, what is your opinion on fixing the plight of our Indigenous brothers and sisters?
Thank you for that question. I am unashamedly free enterprise, and I believe the best way to help those who are less privileged in our country is through the free enterprise system. I believe it's very important that we invest I believe it's very important that through such investment we create opportunities for people originally in this country, for people currently in this country, for people who will in future be coming to this country, born here or otherwise. I think the best way we can help those who are not as fortunate as some of us is to give more employment opportunities. I haven't differentiated in my book between colours of people. I think it is something that is necessary Australia-wide to help people that are less privileged, is to give them opportunities. And I certainly believe the best way through this is through the free enterprise system. I'd also, of course, like to congratulate the many charities who do fine work where there are gaps. But I think the best way for our country is to, all of our country, not just one section, another section, all of our country is the free enterprise system. Thank you very much for the question.
I call now to the stage Gail Austin, who will move a vote of thanks on behalf of Small Business Association of Australia.
I first of all have a message from Rio Tinto, which I'd like to read out. In her years at the helm of Hancock Prospecting, Gina has built one of Australia's leading companies. It's a business that has played and will continue to play a significant role in the growth of Northern Australia. Gina's efforts in growing the business and her support for Northern Australia and its communities are a testament to her dedication and commitment. So there's a special message for you, Gina. For myself, I can only say what an awe-inspiring moment to be here in Brisbane, celebrating 50, 60 years of the contribution that Lang Hancock and Gina Rinehart have made to Australia. Courage is what it took to get this whole deal started, and courage is what it will take to keep it going. We've seen families like Kerry Packer's family. He took on a huge responsibility of a family business in trouble, and the result was spectacular. Gina took her heritage by the bootstraps from economically difficult times to where Hancock Prospecting stands today. Her success has been simply breathtaking. All Australians benefit from the wealth that is generated through her enterprises. This book, celebrating some 50, 60 years of the highest level of risk, sacrifice and demanding work, I think gives for the first time a very real-life view of the business and Gina. One that can only demand respect from all small business owners, entrepreneurs and corporate citizens alike. Everyone in this room, no matter how small their business, understands the challenges, the obstacles and the sacrifices you need to make to reach the pinnacle in your field. So we salute you, Gina, and all those who work with you and support you. You are truly a great Australian. Now, on behalf of the Small Business Association, we want to present you with this certificate of appreciation. And there we are.
Wasn't that fantastic? We're now to with regards to the book. I'm going to have my staff, if they could just come to the stage, or actually just go up to the table up there. Those who would like to purchase the book, I'll get you to fill out a form if you don't mind, and Mrs. Rinehart is going to try and sign as many books as possible. So if whoever would like to purchase a book, would you please go in an orderly fashion just to the table there to the back there, and my staff will be with you in a minute. And very shortly we're going to have dessert, tea and coffee, And as I said to you, we'll be doing signing of the books. Also, in about, say, 15 minutes' time, we'll have a lucky business card draw with some wonderful prizes. Then at 2:30 we close. So thank you very much, and I'll be back about 2:15.